Hello, this is Liz Miller, and this is my video for our Week 4 project in Advanced Visual Frameworks. My project is called Artsy, and it is used to search for and view art images from a website called artsy.com. And I intended for it to have the ability to save an image to your device so that you could more easily look at it again in the future. So here's the flow chart. You launch the app, there's a check for network connection, and if there's no connection, the user either goes and turns it on, or we slide over here to display some stored data. Otherwise, if the network connection is on, we get a token from the API, and then the user supplies a search term, which is used with the token to search for whatever the user asked for, and that data comes back and we store it locally. And we have a split here. If we're following this path, the user, we display the information that we just searched for. We display those search results. The user can drill down to see an individual image and they can actually save that image. Or if we are pulling stored data, previously stored data, the user can pick up and pull saved images and start there and look at an individual result and delete an individual result that they've already saved. And that's pretty much it. Then you're done. But the user basically has two choices once they come into the app. If they're online, they can do a search. If they're not online, they can only do save data. They can only look at save data. So that is the flow chart. I made some nice scenario diagrams here. Start with the splash screen, do our network check, and if we're connected to the network, you land on a page with a page title Search Artsy, and you put in a search term, click search, and it takes you to a screen that would display a list of images, however many images it found. And the user can pick an image and see that larger on the next screen, and also some details like who the artist is, what the title is, what medium it is done in, and the size. And that can be the end, or the user can come back, use back and close here to come down and look at saved images. Again, these two pages kind of correlate to each other. It's just a list of images that have been saved already. User clicks on one and displays that image larger with the artist title, medium, and size information. And that can be the end also. Going back up here, if there is no network connection, the question comes up to load data. We can load data that's previously been saved. We can load that and display that, and the user can go on and display a larger image or not. If there's no data, then they're not going to get this. If there hasn't been a previous search, they're just going to get a blank screen. If we have done a search before, we can bring up the last search results and the user can look at those also, in addition to any previously saved images. So that's our scenario diagram, and I guess we're on to the app. I had some trouble incorporating the cloud storage. Followed the directions in one of our assignments, and it says to end up here looking at my apps, and all of these apps are mine, but they seem to be things that are much older. I don't see any of my more recent apps, and there's no like next page thing here at the bottom, so I don't know what the issue is, and there wasn't anybody to talk to at Accelerator in the middle of the night about it. So I'm kind of stuck. But what I don't get is when this project was created, here's my project, Project 3, Artsy. Um, these services were already enabled. So I'm not understanding why this particular app is not showing up over here under my apps, all apps. So that's a little puzzle to me. So that piece is just totally left out for now in my project. I know it's not there. I know I'm missing it. Um, the next part that I had trouble with is the Android emulator. I launched this before we started here, but I get this application installer abnormal process termination, exit value 1. So, previous, as I was working along, I was launching both the iOS simulator and the Android emulator, and they were both working along pretty consistently with each other. And at some point, as I was trying to resolve a couple of problems, something broke and I can no longer get the app to load to the Android emulator. So again, I know it's not there. I know it's a requirement, so I know I'm going to eat it on that one. The project itself, uh, let's see, I don't need this anymore. We'll start off here. In the app.js file, I just made a nice little list of the flow of the files, and I've got them laid out in order here. So the app.js file, basically, I noted my problems in my file just so I could keep track of things. Couldn't load the ACS cloud business, so we're skipping over that. The app.js file basically just opens the file and opens the application and calls the next module, which is our network check. Check the network. If we have a connection, we go on and get API information. If we don't have a connection, we go and read stored data. We're going to go the route that there is a connection. Connection here, variable is called get Artsy because that's the name of the website that I'm using. So it's an interesting website in that you have to request a token, and then once you get a token, you have to give that token back as part of your request for information. So this first part is just all about going out and getting the token. So you make your request, it comes back, I've stored the token value, and I actually stored it here into local storage, like user settings, only it's for the JSON piece. On error, again, we would go and read our stored data if there was any. And let's see, here's my onload function. Here's actually making the request. It's a post, and then sending the request, and then if it is successful, it comes back with the onload. So that's our connection status. Next is the UI. I waffled a little bit about how to build the UI, and so I decided to build I made it a tabbed application. So the tabs get built first, and then some of the details come later after we actually pull actual data. So I'm going to collapse this for just a second, and this section is just building all of the tabs. There are 4 tabs in our app, and actually I think I'm going to run it so I can have it on the side here. So first tab is first window, and it ends up being our search window where we can search for artworks. A few notes to myself about the colors that I was using. I have a search button. I have an event listener on my search button, which actually goes out. That's what calls the get data piece. So you can see here, here's my search field. I have a hint in here for the user to type in a name of an artist. And they click search and it goes out and performs that search. This notice, because I was running into problems with storing some of my data, I actually went back and added tabs, more tabs. I've got search and save. There really should only be two screens in my app. I made a search test and a saved test because I couldn't get search and save to behave the way I wanted them to. I'll explain it more when we get there, but these are all the tabs that get made in this section. All four of them. So from here, when I do a search, I click on my search button. Whoops, let me do that differently. I'm going to search for Monet, and I'm going to spell it wrong. Monet. And I click search, and I get nothing because I was unable. Let me show you in the console log. Here is my search term, Monet. Call my get data function, and this is the data that I get and parse out. And here I see Claude Monet. I'm not even going to try and pronounce these, but this is a painting, this is another painting, this is another painting. This is what should be displaying on this screen. It's not working. What you're seeing here is just hard-coded images that are saved in this image file, which happens to be the logo for my last project. So just so you understand where we're at. What I would expect to see is individual images of each of these artworks that were returned in my search. What I was having trouble with is saving this piece of information right here. I wasn't able to save it without all of this. The curly brackets, the href space equals space. Could not figure out how to get that to save as just the HTTPS, just the part between the quotes. So that kind of had me stuck. So what is actually happening, I'm going to move forward here. Here's us getting the data. Boring, same old thing that you've seen before. There's nothing really new and exciting there. Storing the data, store the data, create a table, create a database, then create a table, push your information into it, and then we come back and we read the data, we look for this table, select all our information, and dump it out into this table as this information, a description, title, thumbnail, and type. And that is what you're seeing. Actually, this is from the JSON pull. It's easier to read this way. This down here is actually what's in the table. It's just all strung together, so it's a little bit harder to read. So, and just to show you, here is the part that I was having trouble with. I was unable to save just this part in the middle, the HTTPS, all the way down to this JPEG. So what I did was, in order to build this display, I made an image view, some calculations to make things space out correctly, and down here I'm actually pulling this image here using this right here, images and images files, from the array. So this array just has one item, but because I'm looping through based on the table data length, I get more than just one image there. That's why these are placeholders. So again, if we click on this, we go to detail and we see the entire image, and we would see the information about the artist and the whatever kind of artwork it is. So I think this is kind of hard to understand from here. So what I did instead of this is I came over here and I made this test and I saved some Picasso information. So if we look for Picasso, it's not really doing the search because I've already pre-populated this. This file, image IV for image view test, what this is doing, the only way I could get these images to display was to literally cut and paste this information from the JSON and paste it into here. I wasn't able to do this using a loop because I couldn't get the JSON data to save just this image piece. And as long as I was doing that, I just cut and pasted the text and description. So here we have this painting called La Vie or Life with its information. This is what I would have expected if I had been able to store this piece of data correctly. I would have expected that on the first page, but I wanted to show you what I was envisioning, so I did this hard-coded version just to show you what I was going for. I ran into a problem with save. It isn't letting me save it, and part of the problem I think is that it's an HTTP URL. It's not actually an image that I can save, so save is not working either. My apologies, I am kind of stuck. When I couldn't get my data saved, it just wasn't behaving. Oops, let me go back in here. These are my search results, what I searched for. What I expect on a saved page is actually the same layout, but again, I was having trouble saving images, so I don't have anything to show you. And I tried a couple different ways just to even push it to the screen just so you could see it how I wanted it to look like, and I couldn't get that to happen. So I apologize. I'm irritated with myself for not being able to figure this out, but basically you end up with two screens that look like this. One is search results, one is saved images. From both of them, you can click on the thumbnail image and get to a full-size screen width image with information. And if you are on the search results page, you should be able to save the item. And if you are on the saved images page, you should have, instead of save, you'll have a delete button, because once it's saved, you can either keep it or delete it. So sorry that isn't working well. Let me close that up for a second and look at my notes here. Okay, I think that's everything I wanted to say about my app. I'm going to stop this recording and start another one and show you my iPad. Be right back. Okay, here we are with my iPad, and let me click my app. And here we are at the first page again. This is my search. This actually will do the real search. If I put a term in here, let's look up Manet. Oop. Yeah. Have to actually type on the iPad keyboard, not your computer keyboard, which I'm using as a stand. So here's Manet, and I click search, very carefully. And here is my list of pictures, which aren't the actual search results because I wasn't able to save my URL addresses correctly. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to click down here on my test search. I'm going to pretend to look for Picasso. Dang it. Sorry, I am tired. Picasso. Search. And I get my saved images. And I click on my image. I see the details. It'll scroll because it happens to be bigger than the screen. And you can see down here, right here where my thumb is, teeny tiny name, and it looks like my text color. I bet I forgot to set that to the correct color. Anyway, same thing, just on the iPad. Again, test is blank. Save test is blank, and this is the regular saved, and I just put a note on here that there's nothing to see because it's not working. So that is the wonderful and brief iPad demo. Thanks for watching, and please let me know what questions you have. Thanks.